Hi there. I'm Stephanie Mann, and this is the Safe Kids Now show. And I'm here with a delightful guest by the name of Sarah Khambatta, and she is a professional certified leadership and life coach through the International Coaching Federation. She is an expert on helping women overcome imposter syndrome, and she helps to develop confidence. So, as an expert coach, she creates awareness, behavior changes, and the results through empowerment of leaders. So, thank you so much for joining me today, Sarah. I'm happy to have you. And tell us, how in the world did you get started in coaching? um, Empowerment coaching.
Yeah, thanks, Stephanie. First of all, I want to say thank you so much for having me on your show. You do such great work with Safe Kids Now, and you're making a big difference in the world. And hey, that's my mission as well. So, I'm excited to talk with you, and I'm also excited to meet your audience. So, thanks for having me on. So, yeah, how did I become a coach? And I have to say, it's my absolute joy to coach women to overcome imposter syndrome and their limited thinking.
What in the world is that imposter syndrome?
Yeah. Oh, great question. Thank you. So it's characterized by a sense of fraudulence or self-doubt, and it's always high-achieving people that have it. So it's kind of interesting, right? So they're high-achieving, but they have doubt about how they're showing up, and there's kind of a feeling that someone's going to discover that they're not actually as skilled as they think they are, or as they actually are. So that's imposter syndrome.
I've heard lots of people that are actresses feel very insecure. I don't know. Is that part of imposter syndrome?
Yes, yes, yes. Because if someone's afraid that someone's going to discover them or find out that their high level position, or even for performers or actors, that for some reason that they're not worthy. I mean, I have definitely heard a lot of A-list actors claim that they got sick until the last minute that they went on stage, even still feeling like they were an imposter once they were on stage, or having won multiple Academy Awards. So it strikes everywhere. And it's not, as people think, oh, it must mean it's true if I have imposter syndrome, but it's actually true that they're high achieving.
I've never heard that term before. That's kind of interesting. I think a lot of us feel inadequate at what we're doing, but we do it anyway.
That's right. That's the way to get better. That's the way to improve. And that's the way to believe in new patterning in our thinking, so that we can achieve high level and be comfortable and confident and have fun doing it.
Yeah. Now you work with a lot of women. How did you happen to focus so much on women?
Yeah, so I've been focusing on women, and I've been a coach for about 10 years. And I'll just tell you, kind of how I got into it, briefly, that I grew up with a single mom. And, there's in an era when it was okay to have no supervision. Lots of things happens when there's no supervision, right?
Yeah.
And, we did the best we could, but I was alone and isolated, and, I was hungry. And so I experienced myself. I experienced this feeling of being different than my classmates. I experienced this feeling of that I wasn't enough, and that stayed with me until I was an adult. And I just, at the darkest hour, I just really vowed that, I wanted to overcome this so that I could give back and help other women and kids, so that they never had to suffer like this. No one should have to suffer, like in that isolation, in that feeling of aloneness and anxiety. So that was my vow, was to work with women, and it has been, since the beginning. So I've had support groups since college, but I finally decided to make the jump and have it be my profession. So 10 years ago, I got certified and trained, and I also served as a president of one of the largest ICF chapters in the world. And, I was a leader in my own right. So that's kind of how the journey happened for me, because I wanted to make a difference for those single mothers, and also the kids who grow up and be those women who have that self-doubt.
We have so many people today. I think especially after COVID, people being isolated, has really contributed to people feeling inadequate. They've gotten kind of used to staying home. I'm wondering if that's one of the reasons we have people having trouble getting back to their jobs, or I don't know, but there seems to be a problem here with people feeling not quite as strong as they should feel. So how do you go about this as far as empowering women?
Yeah. Thanks for the question. So there's so much that goes into it. And my work with women is really tailored to what their specific situation is. So if, for example, a lot of them have burnout, some of them have trouble speaking up at work or getting promoted or asking for a raise or talking to their partner, it shows up all across the board. So it's really tailored to what's going on for them. And one of the ways that it does show up is the 3 Ps and S. So the 3 Ps is, you might recognize these: perfectionism, procrastination, people pleasing, and sabotage. So those are the ways that, imposter syndrome shows up, and then burnout is a symptom of doing those things. So if I'm overproving that I deserve this job, if somebody is like overproving, overworking, over-indexing on the hours that they spend, they can get to burnout really fast. So we do look at their particular situation, and probably a lot of the listeners out there can relate to this like overworking theme, because it has been something that has happened during the pandemic. So we actually look at the hours that they're spending, working, the hours that they're taking on the stuff at home, because a lot of women do both.
Oh, yes.
And don't realize that they're doing both, or maybe haven't discussed it with their family or their partner or that kind of thing. And sometimes the partner is saying, hey, honey, you're working too much. And the woman has a hard time saying no. And so we look at, what their particular situation is, pinpoint how imposter syndrome is showing up for them, and start working so that they can have boundaries, so that they can ask for help, and so that they can, delegate, create boundaries, have an end time. A lot of people will just like work all the way through the weekend. And to your point of the pandemic, I think a lot of people worked from home. And so then they just worked through the night or late into the night. Since they're there in their living room, they got used to working all the time. And so then we're seeing like the impact of the wellness, and people's level of wellness has really been impacted by this.
Well, now, how do you go about empowering them so that they don't feel so inadequate? What are kind of your tips or secrets to what would you do?
So this is really a joy of, what's that?
What would you help them do?
Yeah. So first we pinpoint where it's showing up, the negative part of it. Then we also pinpoint what their strengths are, what their behaviors are that actually have them be an expert. So this isn't just they're really good at technical stuff, or they're really good at marketing, or they're a leader. It's not just that stuff, but what's their personal professional brand that makes them different than anybody in their company, that makes them so marketable, and really have them start to understand the stuff they're taking for granted is their probably their best resource. So it's a lot of, exercises to that, some coaching, and I can hear it when I meet with somebody pretty quickly. If they tell me what's going on for them, I can hear it, pretty quickly, where it's happening for them, and also like what's their superpower. So that we work on their superpower. To answer your question, we work on their superpower and have them understand what it is, and then leverage it when they are finding that imposter syndrome showing up. So to help them speak up, to help them ask for a raise, that kind of thing.
So how do you identify someone's superpower?
Yeah. So first of all, this is a great question, Stephanie. It's a great question. How do you identify their superpower? So some of it they'll tell you directly. So they might say, everyone comes to me for some kind of work in their company. Everyone comes to them to do creative work. And they're always saying yes. So you can kind of hear where they're doing a lot of that. So you can hear their creative stuff is what everyone's coming to them before. And what do they love? What do they really love? What's valuable to others? What do they really love? And so we pinpoint those things. And a lot of times people don't know what they're good at. Because we take for granted the stuff that, you know what I mean? Like you'll meet someone, you'll say, you're really good. And they'll say, oh, shucks, no. You really show up great doing this stuff. And, they'll say, oh, shucks, no, anybody can do this. This is, so we take for granted our actual skills and expertise.
It's really nice that you help them define what their skills are and what their superpower is, because a lot of us, we just kind of take one day at a time. And women are particularly, they take on much more than they should. I mean, it's hard to raise a family, for example, and then work full time and then come home and do the cooking. You hardly take time for yourself to evaluate, what is my superpower? What do I really feel I'm good at? So how does this relate to or impact safe neighborhoods for a safer world? Because I know that was one of the questions I wanted to ask you.
Yeah. So, that's saying when mama's happy, everyone's happy. When mama's not happy, ain't nobody happy. And so really developing women, developing their confidence, their fulfillment in the world. Like, are they doing what they love? Are they getting paid for it? Not just barely paid. We're talking commensurate with their skill.
Yeah.
When they're paid for it, when they can feed their kids, they're happy. And so being able to be more attentive to kids, being able to talk with neighbors more, being able to be out there and, that fabric in the neighborhood is built. The fabric of the family is built around the woman. And so her happiness, her joy, her financial independence is crucial to safe neighborhoods. That's what I believe.
It's also crucial for safe families because women are much more powerful than they think they are.
That's so true.
Men are great and we need our men, strong men, but we have a lot of problems today. A lot of women, for example, you grew up in without a mother and father. You were a single child. Well, did you have siblings?
Yes, I have a brother.
Okay. So you had just a mother to raise both of you?
Yes, a mother to raise both of us. And and so she was out earning all the time.
Do you know how many women are in that very same situation? And I'm sure you've seen that. So what would you suggest for any woman that is maybe not able to take advantage of your skills, but give us a little information about what do you suggest she look at the first, how can she help identify her strong points?
Yeah. Well, first thing I would say is getting connected to some group, whether it's in church, whether it's, some kind of public service, some kind of group. And if it's not, my group, a different group, there's so many services. If she wants to start a business, she can go to SBA. There's, victims assistance, there's a lot of services there, which are difficult to find, and you need patience. Yeah. And so grab a friend to help. But so how can she identify her strengths? Let's say she's a working woman, got a couple of kids and that sort of thing. To really sit down and do some writing, and ask a couple of questions. If I were strong, it would be because, asking questions so that she can then fill them in. If I were strong, it would be because of my. If I were strong, it would be because of my. If I were skilled, if somebody said I was skilled, it would likely be because of. What is the skill, or what is the thing that she has that is her gift, on the planet to give? Like, I believe, whether you believe in God, universe, nature, whatever it is, dharma, some people
Yeah.
call it, whatever that is, don't be shy about it. And don't cover it up. And because that's part of imposter syndrome, is to hide your light under a bushel. But so to really uncover it and say it to one person, say it to your friend, here's your goal, or here's your vision. Say it to a friend, put it on social media if you feel safe doing that,
Yeah.
and take steps to make that happen for you and for your kids.
I think that's such an important advice, because women really a lot of times don't take that time to kind of sit down and answer questions for herself. She's so busy taking care of other people. We're awfully good at caretaking,
Yep.
but I'm not sure we're as good at really looking at our own skills, because, as you say, we all have gifts, and that's what makes us magical, really.
Yeah.
That we do those. So, as a result of that, what story do you have any client success that you could share with us?
Sure.
Or how you changed the lives of children?
Yeah. So I've worked with a few young women, but there's a lot of, client success, and, so many stories of people getting promoted, a raise, a job, speaking up to the CEO, being able to claim their fame, being able to claim who they are, all of that. But I'll tell you one that's kind of like along these lines. This woman that I was working with, she was probably working like 65 hours a week. I think people are working a lot of hours, like we said. Whatever that myth is about millennials not working, I don't see it. I don't see it at all. Like, the people that I'm working with work a lot, regardless of their age.
I would agree with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this woman, she's a quiet powerhouse. There's a lot of power in there, and she couldn't say no to her manager, so work kept coming on, piling on. She couldn't say no to doing more of his work. She had two little kids and a husband. Here's the thing, sometimes you look at the piece in the work that's there to shift, and sometimes you look in the thing at home that's the proof something shifted. So she mentioned that she never eats dinner with her family. Her husband and her two kids are in the other room having a meal, and she's in some back office working. So that to me was like, okay, that obviously this needs to change. And so we worked towards, changing that. And what that means is she has to start saying no to things that aren't under her role, her purview, her job. Thank you so much. No, I think somebody else, this person, Jane or whoever, would be best suited for that. And then another piece, so saying no and also delegating, and developing her own team, because her own team was more capable than, she didn't want to give them the work. So here we are, teaching her or coaching her to be able to give them work that they wanted anyway. That's the surprising thing. People around women want to help. The hardest thing is to say, I need help.
Oh my goodness. That's such a big one. Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely. So this changed anyway. So she, at one of our sessions near the end, she said, Sarah, you're not going to believe this. I've been having dinner with my family for the last, I think it was like 2-3 weeks. And the other night we ran out of something, and I said, I'll go get it. And so she ran out to the store. And when she came back, one of her daughters said, Mommy, who are you? And so, yeah. So not only is she impacted, like, she was so happy that she got to have meals with her kid. And nothing makes me happier than their development and impacting their kids, because now they have mom who's going to be able to have dinner with them, and she doesn't feel guilty anymore because she's owning her confidence, and she also got a raise. So, I mean, it the raise usually goes along with the work, confidence and raise.
That's a lovely story. I love that. And we're going to take a little break. And when we come back, we're going to ask Sarah about burnout. So we will be back in 1 minute.
You're listening to All About Us Radio, We're live streaming 24/7, playing old school versus new school. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at AAU Media, and visit our website www.aaumedia.com. Call us at 1-833-369-1444, extension 1, and leave us an inspirational message or request. You're listening to All About Us Radio.
Throw and Tuck. It's handmade by myself, and you only can get it here, and it's patent, and it's only here at Rococo Design. It's like a regular pillow, or you can take the blanket out like so, fluff up the pillow, open up your blanket, wrap it around yourself, and then you can lay on your sofa and relax with your pillow, throw and tuck. When you're done with it, just flip it over. When you don't want the blanket anymore, you just fold it over twice. Fold it over twice again. Fold it over. And tuck it in the back. And there you go. You're back to the pillow, throw, and tuck. Rococo Design.
Okay, we're back. And I'm welcoming today a lovely guest by the name of Sarah Khambatta. And Sarah is a life coach. And she is going to tell us a little bit about burnout and what we can do about it. Because all of us at one time or another feel burned out.
Yeah. So talking a little bit about burnout, it happens for a lot of people. We touched on this a little bit already. You know, the main things are, you know, when you notice that you have burnout. So it's usually a symptom of imposter syndrome. So burnout can be a physical, mental, or spiritual burnout. And so people usually can feel listless and all of that stuff, the stuff we commonly know. But instead, to ask for help, delegate, create boundaries, have an end time, say no when you mean no. And this is important to teach kids, right? All of these.
Absolutely.
Say no when you mean no, and getting help with whatever it is that you need, and don't stop asking until you get the help you need.
That's good advice.
Yeah. And I guess the piece that I will add to that is, you know, connection heals, and connection is transformative, especially as we, you know, exit the pandemic era. It's really important to have that connection, and it can be very healing for burnout. Some people, you know, want to stay home and read a book because that's their way of healing, and some people need to get together. But in whatever way, as we enter into like the holiday era, the era of holidays, it's important to monitor what's best for each person so that we don't get to the burnout. So you say no when you mean no, and say yes when you mean yes.
Yeah. Well, you know, we saw the ramifications of children being isolated during COVID, and we saw the fact that they didn't do well. But I think that's also true of adults. I don't think they do well if they don't have connections. And I love the idea of joining a group, because I think it's so important for people to not only participate and get involved, but those connections that they need in order to, you know, make their life feel, you know, take the stress out. Would you suggest that, you know, all of this is very important for families and for children and neighbors to get together? Because one of the things I promote is neighborhood involvement, because I see the ramifications of people being isolated. What would you say about that?
Absolutely. It's such a great point, and so important that that connection can happen in a second. It can happen in a minute. Walking down the street, you know, just being kind to someone, holding the door open. You, like in this climate, we don't know, is somebody at the end of their rope, so to speak. And so just a little gentility, a little kindness goes so far. this reminds me of, when I was growing up, so this woman brought over a bag of clothing. She brought over an enormous bag of clothing. It was two twin girls that had outgrown their clothes. One was kind of like risque girl. The other one was like more, kind of probably like me and a little proper. And so, I didn't have girl clothes. Like my hand-me-downs were like boy clothes. So this was a really touching thing that this woman lugged over this big bag over to our house. She didn't have to do that. And, what a difference that can make, or buy someone, some milk, or it doesn't have to be like a buying thing. I remember this one man said to me, I had a newspaper route when I was like 9th grade, 10th grade, Safe Kids Now. It reminds me of like kid times. But this man said to me, I was collecting the money for the newspaper route. And he said, in the era when you could go and you could, as a kid, go collect money on your own in strangers' houses. And so as I was sitting there, he said to me, are you an entrepreneur? And I don't know if I knew what an entrepreneur was, but I have to say that I could tell he admired the effort of going around collecting my money. And there was something about that word that he really respected, and he related it to me. And not having a father, this is a total stranger, took 1 second, one comment that just, really meant so much to me. And I'll tell you, I know where that house is to this day. I don't know where the guy is, but, that really has meaning and impact. So I don't think we can ever, overestimate the impact of connecting with somebody over holding a door or doing something kind like that, especially now.
I think that your comment is particularly important because it was a small thing to him, but it was a big thing to you.
Yes.
And
and it can be nice for both people too. Who knows? Maybe he had a paper route and it was like rekindling his memory of like, going around, collecting money or something. Like, I think that connection is reflexive, how it impacts both people. So, being kind to someone is maybe good for them, but it's so good for the giver as well. It's like they say, you can't have gratitude and anger, or you can't have gratitude and anxiety or fear at the same time. So to flip it, do something kind and feel kindness or feel gratitude and expand that feeling of like human connection and love and generative, good feelings.
And that would be so important, especially in this day and age. All of us are seeing an awful lot of anger and an awful lot of people being bullies, basically. And we need to really take a good look at that because we're putting a lot of stress on each other. I know there's sometimes when I'm watching TV, I have to turn it off. You start listening to this stuff and you go, enough is enough.
Stephanie, I have a new rule. I don't watch TV at night anymore.
I think
for that reason.
That's a good rule because I just think some of this stuff is painted over and over and over again. And it's not, and the news media needs to grow up, in my opinion, because all they do, they don't have any balance. It's all bad news. It's all about killing or violence. And, I'm a crime and violence prevention consultant, and I've seen a lot of it. But nobody can, and even I can't even deal with this stuff over and over again. So, human kindness can go a long way. So how does somebody get in touch with you if they want to know more information about what you do? Because I love what you do.
Thank you. So great connecting with you. Yeah. And I would love to connect with anybody who wants to. You can find me on Instagram, Sarah_Khambatta. And I think it'll be in some of the show notes there. Or find me on my website, which is dreamstransformreality.com. And, I have a group coming up. They can find out how to be part of that. The price is really, much less than one-on-one coaching. So it has the same elements. And yeah, I'm happy to, connect with anybody in your audience for sure.
Well, that's great. Thank you so much for sharing. Any last thought you want to share with us and keep us motivated to?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So my thought to you is my wish for you is to follow your dreams. Not only my wish, I want to compel and hope for you to follow your dreams, because that's where health and wellness and happiness reside. So follow your dreams, get work you love, and live confidently, boldly, and overcome imposter syndrome.
I love it. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been Sarah Khambatta, and loved having you. And thank you for joining us today.
Yes, thanks so much.
Okay. All right. Join us next week we're on every Wednesday at 5 o'clock Eastern Time and 1 o'clock West Pacific Time. So join us, and you can write us at safekidsnow.com on our blog, or contact me if you would like to be on our show. And we look forward to seeing you every week. So thank you for joining us. Peace and love.
You're listening to All About Us Radio. We're live streaming 24/7, playing old school versus new school. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at AAU Media, and visit our website, www.aaumedia.com. Call us at 1-833-369-1444, extension 1, and leave us an inspirational message or request.